from HeadGames here. We got a good one for you today. We got Korey's 570 horsepower time attack heads, been gone for 5 years. We tore them all apart and we're going to show you what we found. Check it out. Alright, a little explanation of services. Would we do the Korey's head? We did this head 5 years ago and he got our EJ-2 package, which is a full port. So that means, well, back then we did a hand port, valve job, bronze guides, combustion chambers done, and we did this because Korey may not be making the same horsepower that we would normally use for a full port, but this thing does not see below 5,000 RPM at all. So on a road race application, we have learned that the full port works better. It doesn't matter the horsepower range. Well, maybe under 550 we wouldn't, but after 550 horsepower, these things just come alive. We run only 5,000 and above, so we run 5,000, say maybe 8,500, and the car makes power everywhere. This would not be true on a street car. You could not do this because if you enlarge the port and you put a big camshaft in it, at this power level, you would actually lose torque. The car would feel very lazy, and you just wouldn't be fun to drive. So with a decasting that this is, we do the combustion chamber during our full port. When I say do the combustion chamber, it actually starts out, if you look over here, it starts out like this. See all the really sharp edges around the valve seat. Now these sharp edges really will make it timing sensitive, and you don't want detonation. You want to be able to run as much boost. So by doing the combustion chamber, you can run more timing. You can check this out here. See, we blended all into the valve job. You can run more timing, bring the EGTs down, make it less detonation prone, making more power. That's what we're here for. The camshafts look freaking beautiful. This thing was raced every other weekend. He would change the oil. He said he would do some, I guess he went 5 full-time track events. These were time attack races in California or Washington. I'm not really familiar. So he would change his oil after every race. And look at these things. They barely look used. I don't see any problems anywhere. You can tell lash was good because the base circle doesn't have a mark on it. On both sides, they don't have a mark on it. Right, we see a little bit of wear here, but you can't even really feel it with your finger. Everything looks really good. There was no trash in the motor. Everything looks perfect. Billet camshafts, these are GSC S2s. Again, same scenario with the full port. We wouldn't normally run an S2 camshaft for something making under 700, but it only runs 5,000 RPM plus, so these were our cam of choice. Let's move down the line, check out the buckets. Now the buckets ride right underneath the camshaft. You can see here, this is the lobe where it hits this line here. It comes all the way around. You can see it on all of them. This is the lift. The lift of the camshaft will be here. Now you can see they look all a little messed up, and all Subarus have an issue with oil starvation. That's just an inherent problem because the Subaru oils the bucket or the cylinder head last, and you'll get these pull marks. You get these striations here. I have not seen really one Subaru that comes back that these things look beautiful, and but they run, and as long as the car has oil and oil pressure, it should be okay. Now this bucket here, this is one of these that we just stuck on the lathe, and we just hit it with some Scotch-Brite, and you can tell like it looks really good, right? But you can still see the line here, but that's not going to be a problem for us at all. We're going to go through all of these, figure out which ones are going to be good or bad, but I don't see any major issues as long as you can't really feel it. Like this one you can feel, you can even hear it. That's how you can tell when the bucket's bad, when it pulls, right? So that noise there versus no noise. Hear that? That's it for the buckets. We're gonna have to move to another section of the shop to check out the spring, but at least I want to show you the retainers. Everybody gets freaked out about using titanium retainers. This thing's seen a lot of abuse, and you can tell some of them have a little bit of marks in them, but there's really nothing that says that they can't be reused. Let's see, that one looks like almost brand new. Most of them look brand new. They have like little scuff marks. You have to remember they're against a steel valve spring, right? And they're running all kinds of RPM, and they're never not running at RPM. So they're obviously going to have some kind of wear, but not enough wear where you have to replace it. These are 5 years old. Valve springs, we're going to have to move to a different part of the shop, but we'll look at these in a little bit. Let's go on to the valves. So valves tell us a big story about what's going on in the cylinder head while it's running, because we need to know how the spring's acting and if the valve train's happy. Usually we can see it on the tip of the valve. This tip looks good. It doesn't have any kind of marks in it. You know, it sits on the bucket, or the bucket I should say sits on it, and it would, if it was valve floating, these things would have big marks in them. So the tip of the intake valve, you can see some discoloration right here. This discoloration is from the bucket fluttering or beating the top of the valve. You have the discoloration here, and you can see it here. You will see it on the 45-degree angle of the valve. The valve beats itself into the valve seat, and you have a ledge here. This ledge makes it so it basically goes up into the head more, and then you lose spring pressure, you lose your distance to coil bind, you lose lash. We were all good. All things considered, we were all good, and it didn't have any kind of issues there. But you can see there was a wear pattern starting that could have turned into a failure if Korey wasn't so good about maintaining his car. Last but not least, we have the cores. Let's check out the cores. So the cores look really good. We showed you this before. The valve job doesn't look really beat up. I mean, there's obviously some little marks in it from, again, it had some valve float. What it does is it will round the 45-degree angle off, which you can see here, but it's not destroyed. It doesn't look great, but it's not destroyed. The cam journals, all the cam journals look pretty decent. All things considered, we saw some marks on the cams. You can see some marks here. Usually this is from the chain or the belt. Whenever it pulls in, you can see it on the corners here, right? On the corners of this head too. The bucket holes look amazing. I can't say enough. This thing is freaking awesome. Time to check out the valve spring. We have a Buxton spring tester. I put all the information in here. We put the valve spring in there. And then you go up here and you set all the parameters. So we have our install height. Sorry, it's really loud in here. Our lift on the intake side. This is a spring I already tested. So you push that down. It tells us our spring rate, our clearance to coil bind, 95 pounds on the seat, 227 open. This thing, now valve springs do get fatigued. That's why we're going to replace them, even though the spring pressure is good. So that concludes our inspection of Korey's cylinder head. Korey's head's going to get completely redone. We're going to put valve guides in it, and that's why we didn't check it during our normal inspection. We would check valve guides. Sometimes we check it just to see the wear so we can learn about it, but we're going to replace the valve guides. Valve job, we're putting new parts in his head. This thing's going to see another 5 years. Be sure to comment below. Tell me what you want to see. I personally go on there and I check out all of the comments. I answer all of you guys. I appreciate all of you, and we want to grow our audience. We want to know what you want to see. So be sure to do that, and we'll talk next time. Toodles.